In this video, we'll be going over how to write inequalities from word form. I have a few examples for us, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, I have a few steps for us listed out over here on the side. And the first of those steps is just to determine the two amounts to compare. So let's go ahead and read problem 1 and see what two amounts we're comparing. We're not going to put the inequality symbol until the end. All right, so we've got the sum of a number and 5 is more than 12. All right, so let's just break this down a little bit. The sum, the word sum means add, so that's an operation keyword there that we're looking at. What are we adding? The sum of a number, so we don't know what that number is. That's going to be our variable. We can use whatever variable we want. And 5, that's the other value. The and is always going to connect the two things that you are summing, that you are adding. All right, is more than, well, that is our inequality wording right there. So I'm just gonna circle that, but leave that be for now. And then this is the other amount that we are comparing this to. So we've got this side of the inequality, and then 12 is on the other side of the inequality. Let's write out what we've got so far. The sum of a number and 5, so we know that we are adding a number and 5, and then 12 is what we're comparing that x plus 5 to. All right, so we're just leaving that space empty in the middle. All right, the second step, determine if the amounts could be equal. So is more than, is that wording, does that wording suggest that x plus 5 could equal 12? Well, no, it says that it is more than. So in that case, we're going to skip step 3 here, because if it is not possible to be equal, then a lot of times the wording will tell us which inequality. Since I see more, I think that we're going to use the greater than symbol, but I'm going to go ahead and use my step 4 and substitute in some amounts just to help me with the sign. Here's what I mean. I'm going to write down two different amounts that they don't have anything to do with this particular problem, but I just want to see which of these I can read with the wording is more than, okay? So 20 is more than 30. No, that's definitely not it. 30 is more than 20. Yes, that's it. So just by substituting in some other random numbers that I know one is more than the other, that helps me determine which symbol to use, which is usually one of the more difficult parts of these types of problems. So I know that a greater than symbol belongs between these two amounts. Let's try problem 2. Twice a number is at least the quotient of the number and 5. Okay, so a lot going on there. Again, we're just going to start with our first step, determine the two amounts to compare. All right, twice a number. So twice, I know, is specifically talking about multiplying by 2. So I'm just going to kind of write that as a little note for myself. Twice a number. So again, that is a number that we don't know. I'm just going to use a variable. Let's use a for this one. Is at least, so that is my inequality keywords there. So we're just going to set that aside for the moment. The quotient means divide, of the number and 5. So just like we talked about with sum in the first one, the quotient of something and something. So that and is going to tie those two together that I am going to be dividing. Okay, so let's write out what we've got so far. Twice a number. So I said I'm going to use the variable a, so I'm going to just write down 2a is at least. So I'm going to leave that space open. I know that that's where my inequality symbol goes. The quotient of, I know I'm going to be dividing two things. The quotient of the number, so I'm going to use that same variable, and 5. So I can write it like this, a divided by 5, or I can write it as a over 5. So that's the same, a fraction is the same as division. All right, so now I need to look at that wording and I need to determine if the amounts could be equal. Could 2a equal a over 5? Well, my wording says is at least. So that tells me that they could be equal. So since we know that this could be equal to, then the wording is usually opposite. Now, I don't want to say this for every single case, but when I see the word least, that makes me think in my head, okay, I feel like this is going to be a greater than or equal to symbol that we're going to use for this one. So let's test that out with our step 4 and substitute an amount. So I'm going to use that 20 and 30 again. Again, these numbers have nothing to do with the word problem, the word form that I have here. I'm just using two numbers that I know are different numbers, and one is greater and one is smaller, so that helps me with that wording to know which symbol to put in here. Which of these can I read is at least for the symbol? 20 is at least 30. Well, it's definitely not equal to 30, but it's not at least 30 either. 30 is at least 20. That one works. So I'm going to be using this greater than or equal to, and I was correct that the wording seems a little bit opposite from the actual symbol that I used. Let's try problem 3. We've got 8 less than a number is no more than the sum of half the number and 7. A lot going on with this one as well. Let's first determine the amounts that we are comparing on each side. So 8, that is definitely one of our numbers, less than a number. Now, this wording, less than, might make you think of the symbol, the less than symbol. But what we're looking for with the symbol is the word is. So right here where it says is no more than, that is our inequality symbol wording. Less than actually tells us that we are going to be subtracting in this one. All right, so let's see what we're subtracting. 8 less than a number, so this is going to be my variable. The sum, okay, so again, we have sum. Again, that's our addition keyword, right? What are we adding? What are we summing? Of half the number, so half the number, and 7. Again, whenever we have the sum of two amounts, two or more amounts, that and is going to tell us what two amounts that we are adding. All right, 8 less than a number. This is another one that's tricky. Whenever we have the wording less than, that means that we are taking away 8 from whatever that second amount is that they have listed here. So I'm going to use n for my variable, and then we are taking away 8 from that, right? 8 less than a number. All right, and then I'm going to leave my space here for my inequality symbol. The sum, I know I'm adding half the number, so I'm just going to write n over 2 and 7. So we're adding those two amounts. All right, let's determine if the amounts could be equal based on our wording. Is no more than. So it could be equal for this particular problem. So we know that when we see the word more, I'm thinking that this is going to be a less than or equal to situation, because I know that that wording is a little bit opposite usually. So let's see if that's true by substituting in those numbers. Again, 20 and 30, I am not using 20 and 30 because 20 and 30 have anything to do with this. I just want to see which symbol to use for this one. So 20 is no more than 30. That's true. 30 is no more than 20. Well, that's definitely not true. So I know that I'm going to be using the less than or equal to symbol for this one. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that this video was helpful for you and gave you some little tips and strategies on how to write inequalities from word form. This is part of my pre-algebra series, so please check out the link in the description below where I have a ton of videos going over a lot of different pre-algebra topics. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.